I'm buying my first self-storage facility so we can find out if it's going to be an absolute goldmine or a complete disaster. I currently own 3 properties, of which are a mix of short-term rentals, long-term rentals, and a lot of people have been asking me on why I've decided to get into wanting to find a self-storage facility. And the biggest reason is I don't want to be too heavy on my short-term rentals, and in a seasonality phase of which is very common for short-term rentals, having a different type of an asset class like long-term rentals or self-storage or even doing co-living would be a better way to kind of offset some of those low revenue months in the wintertime that you get with short-term rentals here in Colorado. Now, to get educated on what I'm going to do in order to purchase a self-storage facility, I've been networking with several self-storage facility owners. I've done a podcast interview with one of them that you can check out. We'll put the link somewhere in this area. And I have a commercial real estate broker that I've been working with too. She has a lot of information about doing commercial properties for analyzing and the purchasing phase. I have started reaching out to several self-storage owners and other brokers that have listings on them to kind of get more familiar with the analyzing process. But one of the biggest things I've been doing to get educated has been listening to podcasts. I would say that AJ Osborne has a really good podcast, and there's several other ones out there on Spotify too. AJ also has this book about real estate. It's about self-storage facilities 2.0. It's a bigger one that he did end up making, and it is absolutely massive. It's so big. It's like over 400 pages. There's a ton of info in here. Lots of good stuff. I think the best part for me has been the operations chapter. That has been really good to help understand and get sort of a better learning of what you are going to be doing, what to focus on with the operations to make sure that you are doing everything correctly to target the right type of customer that you want to target. Now, the first thing it talks about in the book is what your criteria is going to be, what type of facility you're going to be looking for. Now, I don't have a ton of money to work with here. I'm going to be relying on partners, and I have a few that are interested in partnering on a self-storage facility. So it's going to be more of a smaller one that I can manage myself is going to be key. Ideally, I'm going to be doing more like operations and everything all virtual and automated for the self-storage facility to work correctly in my eyes. If it gets too big where you do need someone to be on the facility, that's not quite where I want to be just yet. I want to be something that is more small, that I can handle myself and just hire out small contractors to go do landscaping, bug spray, or go check out a unit or snow removal, things like that, so that it's not a huge operation, so that I can get a good amount of experience to see if I want to keep doing this in the future, to possibly expand to larger facilities or just keep it at the small mom and pop type facilities. The other reason I want to focus on smaller facilities is because most of them will be mom and pop, and you'll have a higher chance of doing owner financing with this type of facility owner. The reason for that is because sometimes they may be having issues selling, and if it's a large facility, a REIT owns it, and they are not probably going to want to do owner financing to someone like me. But a small mom and pop, if I get to know them decently well and we meet in person and let them know what my plans are and they're open to doing something with owner financing, it could work out to where I could get a deal like that, and I'll have better terms that can work for me as well. In real estate, first impressions can make or break a deal. Whether you're listing a home for sale or marketing an investment property, having high quality photos are key at grabbing attention. If you want to stand out in the competitive Colorado Springs market, having high quality photos is essential. And Wayne over at Homadi excels at getting the best possible photos for your property. He is based right here in Colorado Springs and specializes in capturing properties in the best light. If you're ready to take your property photos to the next level, make sure to contact Wayne over at Homadi and mention you heard about him from Tanner at Red and Joy Real Estate to get 20% off your next shoot. Remember, great photos can make the difference between a quick sale and a stale listing. So make sure to contact Wayne over at Homadi today. Now, my crystal clear criteria is going to be mom and pop owned, like we said. I want it to be under 30,000 square foot. This is going to be crucial because most REITs, from the education that I've been doing and talking to other self-storage owners out there, is REITs are these big companies that will come in, and typically they are found like almost like a stock investment. You can invest in these companies, they buy self-storage facilities, and they give you a return. They're looking for facilities that are going to be massive, over that 30, 40,000 square foot mark. So anything under is going to be what I want to do. Probably going to be anywhere from like 0, most likely 10 to 20 units. up to like 100, 150 is like the max I would want to be going here to kind of keep it in those smaller things. And the type of value that I want to be able to add is if there is any value on the lot where I could add a few more buildings and units, that'd be great, because then I could look to sell it to a REIT later on down the road. But the other thing is I want to add value in terms of the automations with getting it so all payments are done through an online software to save time of no expenses of going out to owners and sending them letters, getting mail stuff. Don't want to deal with all that. Everything online, ideally through a credit card or some type of bank payment through the property management software that I plan to do. Still figuring out the bugs on which one to use. I have a few ideas, but we'll talk about that in the next video. The other thing I want to add is going to be a gate system if there's not one already, and have it automated so that you just punch in your code, it links in through the property management software so I know when people go in and out, and you can keep an eye and monitor on when people are going into facility, out of the facility in case any issues do come up or find out someone's living on the facility and that's a whole mess that you don't want to get into. From what I've heard, it does happen. There are ways to work around it and to prevent it, so we're going to want to implement those ways into getting a gate system. And the other thing is going to add proper security surveillance. Probably get a couple cameras to put around the property to keep an eye in case anyone is stealing something, if there's any break-ins, any incidents happen, and also a possible renter of a storage facility is going to be interested, like, oh, you're watching over the facility with cameras, so I know my stuff is secure in case anything does happen. Would be a good thing that tenants would want to know that their stuff is going to be in safe hands when they're not there and they're using it for storage. Another reason why I'm going after these smaller facilities that are mom and pop owned is because most likely they're not going to have a good social presence in terms of having a website, having a Google page. Just simple things like that of getting on Google Maps and Apple Maps is going to make a huge difference. When people type in storage facility nearby, they can find one nearby, they'll go and they can get it very easily and very quickly, and making it so that they can just show up and either they'll call the number. I'm not sure if it's going to go to me or it's going to go to like a virtual assistant that I'm going to have where they can give them details and get them signed up, but ideally just get them pushed to the website where they can just fill it out through the website. Once they make their first payment, they get the code and they can go in to gate to put on their lock system. Maybe even having a QR code could be good too, of somewhere on a sign near the front entrance, like, hey, scan our QR code, make your payment, you'll get your code to go in. Once they get in, I haven't quite sorted out what I want to do for locks. If I can make it to where it's just an automated lock where I control the code, and if they make their payments each month, their code keeps working, and if they, want to leave, they go take their stuff somewhere else, or they are moving, done using their rental storage unit, then we can change the code, and it's easier for a new person to come in and get a new lock added on to the system instead of bringing their own every single time and having to cut locks off. You can just create more headache and more resistance and friction in that turnover process. And if we can make that turnover process as smooth as possible, I think that will be a lot better for the operations to run smoother and can be more profitable over time to get more cash flow for the facility. Speaking of cash flow, let's talk about financing for it. Ideally, I want to do owner financing, and I would probably try and figure out the terms. That's going to be under 20% down, ideally 5 or 10 if possible, but that might be a little tricky, and a rate of anywhere less than 5% is what I would want to do, because rates right now are around 7, even 8%. The other option would be to do an SBA loan, which is a small business associations loan, which you can actually do with a self-storage facility because they see it as being a business loan because you are technically buying a business. It's not so much about the real estate, and commercial real estate is operated based off of the net operating income that you're going to be getting. So this is going to be your total rent revenue minus what your expenses are going to be. So if you can lower down those expenses and operate it sufficiently, that's how you can increase the value of a facility and of a commercial property over time. So that's one strategy we're going for, is owner financing or an SBA loan. If we can somehow combo the two of those, that would be interesting too. And there's ways to do it, but it's really tight with those numbers, with where interest rates are at. But we can probably get creative some way in order to make that happen. It'll all come down to what the owner's goals are at the end of the day. And I do have some money partners where I would be splitting the equity and the cash flow with. Ideally, I want to be getting around a couple thousand in cash flow each month to split between me and my partners in order to make it worth it to me, and also getting a cash on cash return definitely over 14, 15%. If we can hit that 20% mark, I think that's going to be known as a fantastic deal. Since it's my first one, I'm going to be very cautious with running my expenses, so it might be closer to that 14, 15 number with some higher estimates on expenses, just to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly, since my biggest problem right now is going to be I don't quite know what I'm doing with the operations until I get in there and really feel it out and get a better idea of how it's going to work. Done rentals before with my long-term and short-term rentals, and done some mid-term stuff, so I'm familiar with how that works and operates, but I know there's going to be a slight difference in when it comes to storage. I do have a 2-car garage that I rent out. It's 2-car garages actually that I rent out in the back of my property, and that's been going really well, and that's kind of how I got the first taste of what storage units were like. And he hasn't caused much issues, and he pays every month, and so it's very laid back, and that's another reason why I wanted to get into the storage space, because sometimes dealing with Airbnbs and tenants left and right, issues, crazy expenses, just takes a toll, and I don't really want to be playing that game so much anymore, and want to try and diverse into a different area that's not so much Airbnb heavy for my overall look in my investment portfolio. If you're planning to get photos done on your next listing or rental property, don't forget to reach out to Wayne with Homati to get 20% off your next shoot. The next steps that I'm going to be taking is looking on Crexly and LoopNet. Those are the 2 commercial websites that I've noticed have a lot of self-storage facilities. Sometimes they're on both, which is good. I'm also going to be reaching out to some brokers, kind of talking with them, the ones that get a lot of the storage facilities, and see if they have anything coming up. Let them know my criteria and what I'm looking to do, and show them that I'm serious in actually finding a facility. The other step is going to be pulling a list of self-storage owners in the ideally southern Colorado. I'll look in the Denver market and up north too, but they're probably going to be more higher price points there, probably a bit larger too. So I don't know if my criteria is going to really fit what is available in those markets. I'm gonna send them letters and start cold calling them too, to reach owners, see if they want to sell, what they have to say, and also get a few notes and educated on what the rents are going to be like for all these facilities, and what the owners are seeing, if they like self-storage, if they don't, what issues they're having. Kind of ask them some questions too, if I can, when I get them on the phone. The last thing on my checklist is to have walked a few facilities, kind of get a feel for what they look like. And it seems like it'll be pretty simple. It's just a building with a bunch of 10 by 10 boxes and a gate on it that goes up and down. So I don't think it'll be too different, but I think it'll be good to get an experience of seeing what it's like going to the front desk or calling in, kind of act like I am a customer. And it's like, I think it's called shadow shopping, or is what AJ Osborne says in his book to do. So I'm going to try that out, see how it goes, see if I can learn a thing or two, and then I'll report back and let you all know. So if you do want to stay involved and see what is going on through my self-storage journey of buying my first facility, make sure to subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram too. It's tanner.pyle. And we also have a real estate meetup if you want to network in person and meet some other investors here in Colorado. It's a great place to do so. It's called the House Hacker Mafia, and we meet on the second Thursday every single month. So thank you. See you there.